I recently had an incredible conversation with an architect who reached out because he wanted to start implementing marketing into his business. And after talking for quite some time, I really realized that architects really lack that knowledge when it comes to marketing. And it makes sense. I mean, if you're an architect, why should you be worried about marketing? Or why would you even know where to start when it comes to marketing? Well, I want to share a quick story. This is something that it's not the first time I run into. I myself graduated as an architect. I went through architecture school. I graduated. I worked at really good, cool places. Was worked at one of the top 10 interior design firms in the world, and even set up my own business. But eventually, all of the different places I worked at, even the top 10, had to close down shop. And this kind of started me in the path of marketing, which I have now been working on for the past 10 years. But one thing that I was always curious about was what was the reason that led to great businesses, architect or non-architect, fail. Even if you had great projects, even if you had really good designs, they would still fail, and eventually they would have to close down shop. So this started me in a journey which now has allowed me to work with multiple businesses in different industries and understand why this happens and what you can do about it. But before I talk about that, which is going to be the main topic about the video today, which is mostly focused on architects, I want to give a quick background on why architecture and marketing have never really seen eye to eye. Now, here's a really interesting fact in case you're an architect and are wondering why you should even care about marketing. I mean, after all, you've gotten business just based on word of mouth and referrals. Well, the thing is that architecture firms that implement any sort of marketing can see an increase of up to 500% in return on investment. And yes, you did hear that right. So nowadays, especially with the digitalization and everything that's coming into the world, it makes sense to start implementing marketing. And they don't all have to be marketing tactics that focus on online strategies. They can be offline too. But the important thing is, regardless of which channels you choose, whether it's offline or online, regardless if it's social media or not, you have to have a strategy and you have to understand the why behind everything, which is what I'm going to cover in today's video. Now, part of the reason I started in this journey of marketing after I was exhausted from my architecture world was because I started digging to understand why architects suck at marketing. That's just the reality of it. In school, I was never taught to market myself or sell myself. I was always taught about how to think about creative projects, how I could envision the space, and I became really good at that, but I had no idea how to go out and really sell my projects. And then while I was doing my research, I found out that in the 1909, there was a law that was instated by the American Institute of Architects, where it was forbidden for architects or architecture firms to promote themselves in any way, meaning they couldn't even hang their name on the front door. It was up to that level. And this continued for a long time. Basically, the thought behind it was that if you were a good architect, your projects should speak for themselves. This should be enough of a calling card for people to want to reach out to you. And it makes sense. I get it. You obviously want to be a good architect, have great designs. That way people will reach out to you. And that might have made sense in the 1909. However, nowadays with, again, the digitalization, it's dumb if you're not implementing strategies to acquire new clients. And this law was finally removed in 1972. So it wasn't that long ago where architects could finally start promoting themselves. But after so many years of being banned from promoting themselves to now having to promote, obviously created this issue of them not knowing how to do it. And that is one of the biggest things that happens to a lot of architecture firms. Either they still have that mentality that my project should speak for themselves, or I do want to do marketing, but I have no idea how to start. And what I've seen from speaking to a lot of architects and even from a lot of different businesses that aren't architecture related is that usually the first thing that they go after is social media. They say, oh yeah, I'm going to start an Instagram page, a Facebook page. That's how I'm going to attract my audience. And it really saddens me because seeing a business that wants to start implementing marketing but doesn't have the right tools and starts focusing on things like Instagram just because it makes sense, because you feel like that is the right way to go, really ends up burning you. So I'm going to cover the different things that you have to keep in mind when you're starting to promote your business with marketing. And if you stick to the end, I'm going to walk you through the different process that I've utilized with my own clients. I'm going to give it to you just so you can kind of understand what is a step by step. That way you can start implementing it as well. Okay. So here's the first rule of successful marketing. What happens to most businesses is that they tend to focus on what we call the 3%, meaning the people who are ready to give you money right now for you to work with them. Whether it's a renovation project, whether it's building a house, whether it's construction, whatever that might be. But we tend to go after that 3%, that audience that is ready to give us the money, that are looking to hire somebody right now. But we forget that there's another 97% of our audience that could potentially be interested at some point, but they're not ready right now. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that I am somebody that currently doesn't have the money to build a house, right? I really want to, but I don't have the money to build a house. But it turns out that I have a family member that eventually dies and I inherit some money, which, by the way, that would be very nice, right? But let's say I inherit money. This happens maybe 6 months, a year down the road. Well, I go from being somebody that is unqualified to work with you to now being somebody that is completely qualified. The issue there is that it could have taken up to a year for me to become qualified. So if you were only focusing on the people that were ready to buy at any given moment and you never reached out to me, then I am never going to be able to learn about what your business does and potentially working with you. Right? So that is why we need to instate systems to nurture that 97% that will eventually buy. And that is how a successful business grows. Not only focusing on that 3%, but building systems around nurturing and providing value for that 97%. And that's the first step that you have to keep in mind. You have to start thinking, how do I provide value to those people who aren't ready to buy right now, but eventually will be ready to make a purchase? That way, when I'm showing up consistently, they will remember me and they will come to work with me. And I do want to be honest, when it comes to marketing strategies, I know it can be stressful, right? You have all these different tactics you see out there, you have all these different channels. But marketing, when done correctly, it's about optimizing your performance. It's about helping your business scale sustainably without you having to be doing everything. And that's the intent behind this. Let's say that you as an architect start to become successful. Well, you can't be the one that is designing all the different houses. You need to hire people that can do that for you. You're automating the process, right? You're having somebody else do it for you. And with marketing, when we do it efficiently, we can do the same things. The good thing is that we can use digital tools to help us do this without you actually having to do all the manual labor to set things up. And marketing, even though it's seen as unethical by a lot of architects, which is one of the conversations I've had, you have to think about it from a perspective of, if you are somebody that has the value, that you can potentially help out a client, and you're not helping them, you are doing them a disservice by not being able to promote your service. Because maybe it turns out that you are the perfect architect to work with, but because of your ego or because you think it's unethical, this person is never going to have their house of their dreams. They're never going to reach the project that they've always dreamt about having. So you need to start changing that mindset from marketing is unethical to marketing, when done correctly, can be a great tool for me to connect with my ideal audience, to help people build their dreams, and for me to also live comfortably. Let's be honest, we all want to live comfortably. So by implementing marketing, you're not only creating a sustainable business growth that is automated, you're also helping a client find you in an easier way. It's going to streamline the communication with them, and you're going to be able to solve the problems before they even arise. And the last thing is, it's really going to help you start creating a brand. That way you start to stand out from all the other architects out there. That is why marketing is so important, and it's going to be really beneficial for you to start implementing it into your business if you haven't done so already. But here's the thing, going back to what I said, marketing isn't just opening up an Instagram page and then posting content randomly without a strategy. That is a tactic. And if you don't do it in a smart way, basically you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to see any results, and you're just going to think marketing doesn't work. But if I was to hire an architect and the architect starts building the house, first the roof and then the ground, well, we obviously know that wouldn't work because there's no foundations to really keep the house up. It's the same thing. You need to start first thinking about the strategy and then look at the tactics, which would be the roof. It can't start the other way around because it's just impossible. And that's where a lot of businesses mess up, which is they try to start at the end before even having the foundation set up. So I'm going to share with you a model that I've developed over time. It's called a climb model. It's based on 3 different phases, the before, during, and after phase, which allow you to really understand what are the different steps that you have to take in order to build a business around marketing that is going to be successful. Phase number 1, which is the most important one, it's the foundational pieces for your house, is called market understanding and messaging. So there's 3 steps to each phase. I'm going to break down the first one. The first step that you want to take, and it's a step I take with all my clients, is do market research and really build out a profile for your ideal client. The best way to do so is to, if you already have current clients or past customers, reach out to them, ask them to hop on a call with you, where you can ask them questions. And you can ask them questions such as, why did you choose to work with me? What was the reason you were looking for an architect? What would have made you not work with me and work with somebody else? What would you have done differently? What was the frustration you were feeling or the aspiration you were feeling? And you can build out a lot of questions. But the whole principle behind this is if you can really start to understand what was their thinking process, how they found you, whether it was searching on Google or just word of mouth, and what was the reason that they trusted you enough to allow you to build the project for them, this is going to give you a lot of data to understand and start to map out the profile of your ideal client. Because what you want to do is, if you've had those clients that we absolutely love working with, we want to try to replicate and understand how we can find more of those and less of the ones that we really don't like working with. So the first step, again, is asking yourself these questions and really hopping on a call with these customers, again, past or current, and just ask them a bunch of questions to really understand what their thinking process was behind choosing to work with you, why they really liked working with you, right? What were the highlights? What were the things that could have been fixed? What were some fears that they had? And as long as you can really dig deep into the emotions, fears, desires, wants, pains, then you're going to be able to move on to the second stage, which is crafting a compelling message. Now, the thing with marketing is that unlike architecture, where a beautiful design sells, in marketing, what sells is the communication, is the copy that you have, is what I am saying. So I could have 2 beautiful images, but if one has no information and the other one is connecting to a pain point or an aspiration that I want, I'm always going to be more drawn to that. And it's because of the messaging that is getting portrayed that I am consuming that is connecting with my emotions. So the best way to do so after you've conducted these interviews is to take all that information and start really developing what I call the PAW index. What are the pain points? What are the aspirations? And what are their wants? Understand deeply and do an analysis based on all the conversations you had. What patterns start to show up? Is it a common issue that a lot of people who are looking to hire an architect fear that they're going to go over budget? If that's the case, how can you ensure that that is not something that's going to happen with you? And you can do that through your copy. Is it that maybe they are afraid that they're not going to have, or that they're going to have to be on top of the project, right? If that's the case, how do you ensure that they're not going to have to be on top of the project and you're going to take care of that? Whatever it is that you find, those are the things, those pains, those aspirations, those wants are really the things that you need to start incorporating into your messaging, whether it's written, whether it's video, whatever that might be. But that is going to be the second most important step, which is having a compelling message that's going to allow you to connect with your ideal audience. And the third, but not less important of this phase, is understanding your channels and selecting the proper channels. Going back to what I was saying, one of the very common things I hear from business owners, and a conversation I had with a recent architect, he reached out and he said, "Hey, I want you to help me with your marketing. I want you to start doing LinkedIn and Instagram posts." And the issue there is that, again, you're coming from a mentality of the tactic. You're thinking about the channels. You're not thinking about the strategy. So what I sat down with him and broke down was, first of all, understanding who his ideal client was, creating a profile of the ideal person that we're going after to really understand what channels are going to be the right channels for you. So I'll share with you an example. Let's say that I only work with B2B, right? I am an architect that focuses on building warehouses, that likes to work with other businesses. Now, if I'm not clear on where I'm going to find the CEO or the owner of that B2B, then I am going to start basically shooting blindfolded without really hitting the target. So if I have that target market and let's say I start promoting on Instagram, if you really think about it, how much time is a CEO of a B2B, a successful B2B, or a business owner really going to have time to go into Instagram? And is it a channel that they're actually interested in? Probably not. Probably they would use LinkedIn. Maybe they would use or read news letters or news magazines like Forbes, like Construction, whatever that might be, right? But the whole idea behind what I'm saying is the channels that you choose do make an impact, because it doesn't mean that because TikTok is out there or Instagram is out there, those are the right channels for you. You need to understand what is the type of channel and content that your ideal customer consumes, not what everybody else is saying or what everybody else is doing. Great. So now we have the channels, we understand the pain points, we've crafted a message, we understand who our ideal client is. The next step is for us to take that 97% that I was talking about and funnel them into a system where we can capture their information, where they go from being this unknown person in the digital space to us now having their contact information and the email. That way we can share value with them and obviously promote our business. And the first step in doing so, which is part of phase 2, which is lead capture and nurturing processes. So the first step is lead capture system. And a lead capture system can be done through a website, through a landing page, through a basic form, but it's basically a way that we can guarantee that we are going to have to capture people's information. And usually we connect this to a CRM, so it's automated, and as soon as somebody inputs their information, they are automatically added to this CRM system. But setting up a lead capture system is going to be key because we want to capture their information. Now, how do we incentivize them to give us the information? Well, this is where step 2 comes into play, which is building a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is going to be basically an ebook, a free course, a webinar that you're doing, whatever resource you have to share with them in exchange for their email. So the exchange here is just information. You are going to give them a piece of information that's going to be valuable for them because you understand their pain points, what their wants are, what their aspirations are, and you're going to create a piece of content around that. And in exchange, they're going to give you their email and their name. So let's say, for instance, that I want to design my house with a Scandinavian style with an interior design firm, but I have no idea about what the design would look like, right? What are the top 10 things or the things I should look out for to ensure that my design looks Scandinavian? If an architecture firm understands that that is something that I'm going after as a client, they could create a lead magnet where it's a downloadable PDF that says something like the top 10 things that you need to keep in mind if you're designing a Scandinavian style home. If that is something that I'm going after, then I am going to be prone to wanting to download that file because it's going to be valuable information. And in exchange for that, I'm going to give you my email and my name. And what that is going to do is you're going to capture my information, but at the same time, me as a consumer, if the information is valuable enough, I'm going to be able to see not only that I got my questions answered, but also that you as an architecture firm know what you're talking about. And obviously the next step is for me to feel more comfortable with you. I'm going to probably book a call to see if we could potentially work together. But what you have to think about is how does this become a win-win situation where the client feels like they're getting a lot of value beforehand, and what you're getting in return is their email address and their name to then start providing additional value and obviously sell your service. Which leads to step 3, which is building a lead nurture sequence or campaign. So remember how I said that there are a lot of clients that could potentially work with you, but maybe down the road, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road? Well, we want to find ways that we can potentially nurture these people without us having to be creating content consistently, and we can use automation tools for that. But we want to show up daily, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever you wish, in order to become top of mind for that client. And the best way to do so is by building lead nurture campaigns. So these lead nurture campaigns could be emails, could be SMS, could be content on social media that you're sharing with them. but it's going to be valuable information that is going to allow them to see that you are an expert in your field, and it's going to build that trust. Google did a research a few years back, and they developed something called the 7-11 rule. But basically, the 7 talked about that any consumer, in order for them to really trust you, they have to consume at least 7 hours of content, whether it's written, whether it's video, whether it's any other form of content, but they need to consume 7 hours before they feel like they can trust you enough to open up a conversation. So in order for you to build those 7 hours, yes, you can definitely go ahead and use social media, but you need to find other channels that are going to provide additional value. And in these email sequences, these nurture sequences, you can be giving away other resources. You can be offering a free call, anything that's going to get this person to say, you know what, I am interested. So that is part of phase 2, which is extremely important, which is building the lead capture, lead magnet, and lead nurture systems, but are going to allow you to slowly but steadily start building a funnel of potential leads that you can reach out. Now, phase number 3 is the advanced nurturing and conversion process, which is once we have those people in, how do we ensure that we can actually convert them? And there's many ways to do so, but ideally the way I like to do it is you want to conduct calls with these people, right? Where you can provide value, you can answer any questions beforehand, and you don't have to try to close on that first call because it's not a small decision that people make when it comes to investing in a house. But the more conversations they can have with you face to face, the better it's going to be. And it can be via video just like this, via Zoom, but you first want to focus on what is a system that I'm going to take in order to take those leads that I've been nurturing and then transform them or sell them to come to a call with me. So that is going to be part of the first step. The second one is how we ensure that we can optimize the experience that they're having so they have a very enjoyable time with you, which is going to in return guarantee that they're going to probably refer more business your way, right? And this can be through frequent emails, building out a system to be constantly sending them SMS messages, updates on their project, right? New things that you find, sending them gift baskets, whatever that might be. But building that what we call world-class experience is going to be key in order for them to feel like it was the right choice to work with you rather than them doubting if they should have gone with somebody else. And this is going to be crucial. And the third step is building that referral. So what happens with a lot of businesses that rely on word of mouth or referrals is that they use this marketing strategy, but they use it in what I call a passive way, where basically you finish the job and you just expect people to, out of the kindness of their heart, send more business your way. But the issue here is that if you're doing that, you are basically relying on somebody else to help you grow your business, and they don't have any sort of incentive to do so, right? I don't know how many people you've got referenced or you have had referred, but I'm sure that it could be a lot more if you turn this from a passive strategy to an active strategy. And the way to turn this into an active strategy is you can build some sort of affiliate program where every time a person refers new business your way and you actually close this client, they get a cut, they get a percentage. And it's not unethical, it's completely legal, but it's a really good incentive for them to want to refer new business. And if you don't want to give them money, it could be as simple as, hey, if you refer 5 people and I close 3 of those, next time you need a paint job, I'm going to be the one that's going to do it for you, and I'm going to give you 50% off, or I'm going to do it for free. Because these people are actively referring business your way. And if you close 2 or 3 new deals, for you, it's not going to cost a lot to go and paint somebody's house or do a renovation of a small project, right? You're getting new business that otherwise you wouldn't have gotten. So these are the 3 phases that you have to think about when it comes to start building a marketing strategy. Again, remember, it's not about just going and creating content on Instagram or Facebook. It's about building the systems that are going to allow you to have a successful marketing for your architecture business. That is the first step. Hopefully this gets you started on the path of building a marketing strategy for your architecture practice. I love architects. I want to see you all succeed. I feel like you all are great. And you're just missing this information, part of the plan, before you can really start to build that business to become very successful. And if you want more help or you want to learn more about how we can potentially work together, you can book a call in the link that you'll see below. And also make sure to subscribe and like this video. I'm creating content for you guys. That way you can learn how to start building your own business so you don't have to go through the struggles that I went through when I had my own architecture practice. See you next time.